Now, Eskom CEO Andre de Ruyter has just presented on South Africa's just energy transition and the phasing out of the Komati power plant. He says the decommissioning and repurposing of coal-fired power stations, which is already underway, presents the country with new opportunities. He was addressing the COP27 Summit, which is currently underway in the city of Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt. Senior reporter Siphamandla Gogehas is there for us, and he joins us now live. Sipa, before we talk about what the CEO of Eskom has said at COP27, what's happened so far throughout the course of the day?
Nothing much. Ongoing talks. They've been logged in those back-to-back meetings. It's all about negotiations here. Remember, you've got a number of countries known as parties, because COP27 refers to a conference of parties, the 27th edition. So you have breakaway groups that have been formed on issues of adaptation, climate finance, loss and damage, a number of topics that are being discussed here. So for the better part of this week, which started on Monday, they've been discussing and not agreeing on many things, but at the center of it, really, the gist is about who is going to pay for what. Developed nations, they don't want to honor their financial commitments. Developing nations, most of them in Africa, are saying, please, we need to undertake this journey. We are willing to fight the impact of climate change, but meet us halfway. There has to be a fund and a financing mechanism and method for each and everything that we do. We don't have money. We are still developing economies. Meet us halfway by paying. So the gist of the argument really centers around the issue of finance or climate financing. That's where there is no consensus. And these talks are meant to wrap up tomorrow, but it does not look like that will happen. So earlier on, the CEO of Eskom had a speaking engagement here at COP27. South Africa's just energy transition is one of the interest points at this COP. You know, President Cyril Ramaphosa came here and met with international partners who have committed to funding that just energy transition, and the CEO of Eskom was unpacking the journey that has been undertaken using the case study of the Komati power plant that has already been phased out. It's being repurposed as we speak. This is what he had to say about how Eskom will phase out the usage of coal. Let's take a listen.
So we have a huge concentration of coal-fired power plants in Mpumalanga. This is a map of the eastern part of South Africa. And you can see there the plants that we need to repurpose and repower by 2035. So that's the 22 gigawatts that we talk about. This is an immense challenge. Now, some people may say, but why don't you just keep on running these plants? The fact of the matter is that any piece of mechanical equipment has a finite life. You don't see too many 50-year-old cars driving around on the road, and there's a reason for that. They reach the end of their useful economic life, and then they need to be replaced. So we are reaching the end of the road for these coal-fired power stations, but now we need to start planning to replace them so that we don't exacerbate the energy capacity shortfall. So this is the opportunity. You can look at it as a problem statement. I choose to look at it as an opportunity statement.
And Sipa, I'm interested to just know what happens if parties don't agree on a number of crucial priority areas at that conference.
Unfortunately, they will have to defer these talks to the next conference of parties, which will be known as COP28. The indication is that those talks will be taking place at the United Arab Emirates in Dubai next year. So if they don't agree here, if there is no consensus, they will have to take everything to Dubai. And that's where there is an expectation that maybe, or should I say many people are hoping that they will try and have a last-minute deal here or consensus of some sort sort, because if that does not happen, it will simply mean that this COP has been a waste of time. It will not be for the first time, by the way, that there is no consensus. It has happened before. A number of these talks have failed dismally to produce a desired positive outcome. So if they don't agree on a number of crucial points here, including the issue of adaptation, climate finance, loss and damage, allow me to pack a little bit what this issue about loss and damage means for Africa. Africa as a continent says, hang on, we have suffered so many losses due to the impact of climate change. Whether you go to the Horn of Africa, there is a crippling drought there. Southern Africa has been ravaged by devastating floods. In South Africa, Mozambique has suffered. There's been a cyclone there. So there's been a loss of property, livelihoods, livestock, crops, land. So Africa is saying meet us halfway with that. So if they don't agree on that point, they'll have to defer it to the next COP. But this is what the CEO of Eskom and Director had to say about how Eskom is moving into embracing the new forms of green energy, particularly issues of wind and solar. Let's take a listen.
Then we have a plant that was built at a time when emission standards were significantly more relaxed, and this means that we have to invest extraordinary amounts of money, 300 billion rand, or about $22 billion, in making sure that we can comply. And this creates no new capacity, and in fact it will require us to use 16 billion litres of water additionally every year. So this is an alternative solution that we're putting forward, this just energy transition, to also address our energy shortfall. You may know, those of you in the audience who are from South Africa, who will be familiar with the sad phenomenon of load shedding, which has been with us now since 2008. So we urgently need more generation capacity to be added to the grid. What is the quickest, what is the cheapest, and what is the easiest to deploy? It is the rollout of cleaner, greener technologies at scale.